All right, let's dive in. Today we're going to unlock some serious language skills.
Oh, yeah.
Get ready, because our deep dive today is all about how to take your spoken English to the next level.
I'm excited.
And let me tell you, the source material we have is amazing.
Awesome.
We're looking at a script today for an educational video series called Learning English Made Easy, Practical Conversations.
Okay.
Now, forget about those dry grammar textbooks. This is all about giving you the tools to actually use English, in real-life situations.
Real world application.
Exactly. Think ordering coffee like a pro,
That's a good one.
navigating a new city without a hitch, or even just chatting about the weather with, total confidence.
I like it.
What do you think about this approach? I mean, it seems pretty effective to me.
Well, what's really cool is how it uses scenario-based learning.
Mm.
So instead of just, sort of passively taking in information,
Yeah.
you're actively engaging with the language,
Ah!
right? In a way that mirrors how you'd actually use it.
It's like the difference between reading a cookbook and actually getting your hands dirty in the kitchen.
Exactly.
So let's jump in and explore how this script actually works. How does it work? It's magic.
Well, each scenario is structured like a mini dialogue,
Okay.
showcasing these simple but effective phrases
Mm.
for all sorts of different situations.
Interesting.
And the brilliance is how these phrases really tap into the underlying patterns of polite and effective communication in English.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so can you give us a specific example, maybe something that would be helpful for someone traveling to an English-speaking country for the first time?
Absolutely. Let's look at the scenario about ordering food at a cafe.
Okay.
The script breaks it down into these bite-sized phrases like,
Yeah.
I'd like a coffee, please, or could I also get a croissant?
Right.
Now, these might seem really basic at first,
Yeah.
but they're super powerful because they follow a clear and concise structure
Okay.
that's pretty much universally understood.
Yeah, it's like having a cheat sheet to get through those awkward moments when you're trying to order food, especially in another language.
For sure.
I remember this one time.
Oh, yeah.
I was in Rome, desperately trying to order a cappuccino,
Yeah.
but I just completely blanked on the word,
Oh,
and I ended up with a glass of milk.
oh, bummer.
I know. If I had had these simple phrases in my back pocket, I probably would have got my cappuccino.
Yeah, that's the point. By equipping yourself with these kind of ready-made phrases, you not only reduce the cognitive load, but you're also building a foundation for more complex communication.
So it's like learning the basic chords on a guitar before you can start jamming out.
Exactly.
And speaking of getting around, the script also has this really great scenario about asking for directions.
Right.
Can you walk us through that one?
Absolutely. This scenario dives into the kind of subtle art of asking for help politely but clearly.
Yeah.
The script suggests using phrases like, excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the nearest train station? Now, what's interesting here is that by starting with excuse me,
Yeah.
you're signaling respect and you're acknowledging the other person's time,
I see.
which makes them more likely to want to help.
It's like priming the pump for a good interaction.
Exactly. But
Wouldn't it be easier to just use a map app or something?
yeah, well, technology can be helpful, of course.
True.
But there are times when it's just easier or sometimes even necessary to ask a real person.
Yeah.
And plus, it's a good chance to practice speaking English
That's true.
and maybe even have a little cultural exchange.
Yeah, sometimes those unexpected interactions turn into the most memorable parts of a trip.
Oh, sure.
What about those situations when you need more than just directions? Like, what if you need help with something more complicated?
Well, the script addresses that too.
Does it?
Yeah, it includes a scenario about asking for help at a hotel, demonstrating how to, clearly articulate a problem
Okay.
and ask for specific help. For example, it suggests using phrases like, I'm having trouble with the Wi-Fi in my room. Could you please help me connect? It's direct and specific,
Yeah.
but it still keeps that polite tone.
I've totally been there, needing help at a hotel and not knowing how to explain the problem without looking like I'm acting it out.
Yeah.
Those phrases would have been so helpful.
And that's the beauty of it, right? It breaks down common scenarios into manageable pieces so you can navigate what could be a stressful situation with more confidence and fluency.
It's like a toolkit of ready-to-use phrases that you can adapt to different contexts.
Exactly.
So it's not about just memorizing a bunch of phrases.
Right.
It's about understanding how to use them as building blocks
Yeah,
for effective communication.
exactly.
It's like learning the grammar rules,
Yeah,
but with a focus on actually using them in the real world.
absolutely.
And I really like how this script subtly brings in the importance of nonverbal cues.
Oh, Yeah.
It reminds learners that communication is about more than just words. It's about that friendly smile,
Yeah.
the eye contact,
Yes.
maybe even appropriate body language, all those things that can enhance your message and build that rapport with whoever you're talking to.
Exactly. It's like those extra spices in a recipe that really bring out all the flavor.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
But I am curious, how does this script actually address practice? Learning a language takes more than just reading a script, right?
Oh, absolutely. The script includes a practice tip at the end,
Okay.
encouraging learners to write down the dialogues and practice them out loud.
So they can take those pre-constructed phrases for a test drive and make them their own.
Precisely.
And that repetition is so important.
It's key.
So by speaking those phrases out loud, you train your mouth to form those sounds and rhythms, making it feel more natural over time.
For sure, even if it's just to yourself.
But what if you're learning by yourself and don't have anyone to practice with?
Well, there are tons of language learning apps and websites
Yeah.
that offer interactive exercises and even like virtual conversation partners. And honestly, don't underestimate just talking to yourself. Narrate your day, practice ordering your coffee, or even have a fake conversation with an imaginary friend.
So turn everyday life into a language learning playground.
Exactly.
So I'm already feeling inspired to, brush up on my English skills.
Awesome.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to go back to something you mentioned before about focusing on communication over perfection.
Right.
Can you unpack that a bit more? Why is that such a big deal for language learners?
So many learners get really bogged down by this fear of making mistakes.
Right.
And honestly, that can really hold them back.
Yeah.
What this script does so well is highlight that the goal of language learning is to actually communicate effectively, not to be perfect grammatically.
So it's like giving yourself permission to mess up and experiment and learn from your mistakes.
Exactly. And research has actually shown that making mistakes can make you learn better.
Really?
Yeah, when you make a mistake and then fix it,
Okay.
that information's more likely to stick.
So that's a really liberating thought.
It is.
It's like giving yourself permission to play with the language,
Yeah.
to try different things and not feel pressured to be perfect.
And that playfulness can really keep you going on your language learning journey.
Okay, so I'm totally on board with that.
Awesome.
I think we've uncovered some really great insights about this script and how it teaches language.
Yeah.
It's not just about memorizing phrases.
Right.
It's about understanding the ideas behind communication, embracing practice and allowing yourself to learn from those mistakes.
For sure.
But there's still so much more to uncover.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
I'm ready for more.
We're still breaking down the secrets of learning English made easy. Practical conversations.
It's really good stuff.
Honestly, I'm even more impressed than when we started.
Me too.
It's not just about giving you some phrases.
Yeah.
It's like a whole masterclass in how to navigate those little things that come up every day.
The nuances.
Exactly. And one of the things I'm really finding insightful is how the script tackles those tricky situations we all find ourselves in sometimes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, imagine you're at a hotel
Okay.
and something isn't right. Maybe the air conditioning is broken or you need another towel.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you say that so people understand without getting flustered?
It's tough.
I've totally been there, like trying to find the right phrase in my book, making all kinds of hand gestures.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Not exactly a smooth trip when you're doing that.
No, not at all.
So what does the script actually say to do?
It gives you a really simple formula.
Okay.
You could say, "Excuse me, the air conditioning in my room doesn't seem to be working. Could you please have someone take a look?"
See, that makes sense. It's direct and polite, no room for confusion.
Right.
And I noticed they use the, excuse me, at the beginning, that's it. Right.
It's like a softener.
Okay.
You're acknowledging them before you ask them to do something.
I see. So you're starting the conversation on a good note. I bet that makes a huge difference, especially when you're in a new place and don't know the rules.
Totally.
But what about if things are a bit more, I don't know, emotionally charged?
Okay.
Like if you needed to see a doctor in another country,
That's a good one.
how does the script deal with that?
It does. It actually gives you a way to talk about your symptoms clearly and simply.
Like what?
You could say, "I haven't been feeling well for a few days. I have a headache and I feel nauseous."
That's so much easier than trying to remember the word for migraine when you're feeling awful.
Right. Much easier. But how does it go beyond just listing symptoms? What about actually talking to the doctor?
It also gives you ways to ask questions and respond to what the doctor says.
Hmm.
Like you could say, could you explain that again? Or What are my treatment options?
Okay, so you can make sure you understand what's going on and feel comfortable asking questions.
Exactly.
Let's talk about something a bit more fun now.
Okay.
Like, what about making plans with friends? Is that in the script? Yes, it gives you lots of phrases for inviting people, suggesting things to do, and making sure everyone's on the same page.
Give me an example.
You could say, hey, are you free on Saturday night? I was thinking of trying that new restaurant downtown.
I like how casual that sounds.
Yeah.
It's like how people really talk, and it mentions a specific restaurant.
Right.
Why is that so important?
Being specific makes things clear instead of just saying, let's do something sometime. You're giving them something real to think about.
Okay, so you're more likely to actually get together.
Exactly.
But sometimes making plans means you have to say no or you have a preference.
Yeah.
Does the script help with that?
Absolutely. It gives you phrases to politely say no, offer another option, or say what you like.
Okay.
So you might say, thanks for the invite, but I'm busy Saturday. How about Sunday?
Right.
Or, I'm not really into spicy food, but I'm willing to try something new.
That's a good one.
So you're being honest, but still nice.
Yeah, you're saying what you need to say without being rude.
Exactly. And that's important in any language.
For sure.
It's all about finding that balance where you can be yourself, but also be respectful.
I love how this approach goes beyond just giving you those pre-made phrases.
Me too.
It shows you how to make them your own.
Yeah, it's like having a template that you can adjust to fit what you need.
Like a set of building blocks for your conversation.
Exactly. And as you get more comfortable speaking, you'll naturally start adapting them and adding your own style.
It's like having a secret weapon for those social situations.
Right.
Let's talk about something else that people often forget about, those nonverbal cues.
Oh, yes. Super important.
We talked about them before, but I think we need to go deeper.
Agreed.
Words are only part of the story.
It's true.
Our tone of voice, our face, our body, even how close we stand to people, it all sends a message.
It's like a whole orchestra playing along with your words.
But how does a script teach that? You can't see the characters' faces or hear how they're talking.
That's where the script gets really clever. It uses descriptions and stage directions to show you those nonverbal cues.
Like what?
It might say a character is smiling, making eye contact, or sounds hesitant.
Oh, I see.
So even though it's not spoken, you get a sense of what's going on beneath the words.
So you have to read between the lines, pick up on those little hints.
Exactly.
But how can people actually use that when they're talking to someone?
By paying attention to their own body language.
Okay.
Are they looking at the person, smiling, standing too close? Those little things make a difference.
It's like fine-tuning an instrument.
It is.
What's really interesting is how those nonverbal things are often the same in different cultures.
You're right. A smile is a smile anywhere in the world.
Exactly. And even though different cultures have different ways of communicating, there are some things we all do.
It's like a universal language.
So we've been looking at the script, and it's made me realize that learning a new language is about way more than just memorizing grammar.
So much.
It's about understanding how people communicate, being aware of cultural differences, and seeing how all those little interactions work.
It really is a whole other world.
Learning a language is like putting on new glasses and seeing things from a different point of view.
I like that.
You realize there are many ways to see and think and be.
It's beautiful.
This deep dive has been a real journey of discovery.
It has.
We've looked at practical phrases,
Yes.
indirect communication, nonverbal cues, and how learning a language can really change how you see the world.
Awesome stuff.
It's been great exploring all this with you.
You too.
But I'm curious, what else is hiding in this script? Let's find out after a quick break. We're back for the final part of our deep dive into learning English made easy, practical conversations.
It's been a great journey.
And you know, as we've been going through this script, I've been thinking about how it's not just a list of useful phrases. It's more like it shows you how people actually interact.
You're right. It's like a window into the psychology of communication.
Exactly. It gives you the tools, but it also helps you understand the unspoken rules.
It's those little nuances.
Yeah, and one of those unspoken rules, at least in English-speaking cultures, is this idea of being indirect.
Indirectness, that's an interesting one.
What do you mean by that? Can you give me an example?
Sure, let's say you want to ask a friend for a favor.
Okay.
Instead of just saying, can you do this for me? You might say something like, I was wondering if you might be able to help me with something.
Oh, so you're kind of softening the request?
Exactly. You're making it more collaborative and less demanding.
But why is that so important when you're speaking English?
Well, being too direct can sometimes seem rude or aggressive.
Oh, I see.
especially in social situations.
Okay.
But being indirect lets you have a more subtle conversation. It
Hmm.
gives the other person a chance to say no without feeling pressured.
So it's like a little social dance.
Yeah, I like that
You're
analogy.
not just blurting out what you want, you're kind of testing the waters for.
You-
But how does the script actually teach you how to be indirect?
It shows you through examples.
Okay.
Throughout the different scenarios, you'll see all these little cues that show politeness and respect.
Hmm.
Things like, would you mind? Could you possibly? Or I was hoping.
Right, those little phrases that make things more smooth.
Exactly. They soften the request and create a more harmonious interaction.
It's like you're using those magic words to make things more pleasant.
It is, but wouldn't it just be easier to be direct? Isn't that faster?
Well, being direct definitely has its place, like in emergencies or at work.
Right.
But learning how to be indirect can really help you, especially in English-speaking cultures.
Absolutely.
You can build relationships, deal with tricky situations, and just communicate in a more positive way.
It's like having a secret tool for social success.
So let's switch gears a bit and talk about something else we often forget, nonverbal cues.
Body language?
Exactly. We talked about it before, but I think it's worth another look.
Definitely.
Words are only one piece of the puzzle. Our tone of voice, our facial expressions, how we use our body, even how close we stand to someone, it all communicates something.
Yeah, it's like there's a whole other conversation happening alongside the words.
But how can a script teach that? I mean, you can't see the characters or hear them?
That's what's so brilliant about this script.
What do you mean?
It uses descriptions and stage directions to hint at those nonverbal cues.
Oh, I see.
So it might say that a character is smiling, making eye contact, or speaking hesitantly.
Okay.
Even though those things aren't actually spoken, you get a sense of the underlying emotion.
So you have to pay attention to those little details, read between the lines.
Exactly. And when people are communicating, they can use that same awareness
How so?
by being aware of their own body language.
Okay.
Are they making eye contact? Are they smiling? Are they standing too close? Those little things make a difference.
It's like fine-tuning your instrument.
Right.
And what's amazing is how many of those cues are universal.
A smile means the same thing all over the world.
Yeah. So even though different cultures have different ways of communicating, there's also a common language.
It's like a universal language of human connection.
Looking at this script has made me realize that learning English is about so much more than grammar and vocabulary.
It really is.
It's about understanding how we connect as people
It's about cultural awareness.
and seeing how those interactions work.
It's a journey of self-discovery.
Learning a new language is like stepping into a new world.
I agree.
You see things from a different perspective and you realize there are many ways to be.
That's the beauty of it.
So this deep dive into learning English made easy, practical conversations has been incredible.
It has.
We've explored the power of simple phrases,
Yes.
the art of indirect communication, the importance of body language.
And how learning a language can change how you see the world.
To our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the amazing world of language.
It's a journey worth taking.
Until next time, happy learning.